Okay, the Sky Cricket podcast, myself, Nas, have made our way to the Adelaide Hills. We're about 30 kilometres east of the city. You're staying here, actually, for a few nights, aren't you, on your jolly around Australia?
Like the England team, I'm having a little bit of a break between the test matches. I've not gone
Mental
Noosa.
recuperation.
Yeah. I've gone to Mount Lofty House, which is about 20 minutes from here. Very nice. Lovely spot. I recommend it.
So we're at the Lane Vineyard, which is a vineyard here in the Adelaide Hills that has been producing wine since about the mid-1990s. Big Germanic influence, actually. It's near a village called Harndorf, I think, and it was the Germans who settled the Adelaide Hills in the late 19th century, but they've been producing wine here relatively recently compared to some of the great winemaking regions around Adelaide. And a city you know well. You came here, didn't you?
I did. I think
Just
you
after
left
university.
me. Yeah, I think you left me out of one of the England tours when you were captain, so I had to make my own way in life. And Adelaide
Get
Uni.
my violin out.
Adelaide Uni sort of rang me up and said, "Will you come? You seem to be a really good player for Essex. Will you come and get runs for us?" Well, I came, but I didn't get many runs. So I had a great time at Adelaide Uni.
One winter or more than one winter?
One winter, I think. I did a winter in Sydney where I got even less runs. But here I had a great time. The Adelaide Uni crew looked after me. I was there yesterday or day before yesterday. I went for a little run round and saw the pitch. Grade cricket. I mean,
So I was going to ask, it's a long time ago, and I never came to play grade cricket because the first year after uni I ended up getting, picked on a England B tour, and then didn't have a winter after that. But it's the bedrock of Australian cricket, really, isn't it? Grade cricket, and there's that very clear pyramid structure that if you have a really good season in grade cricket, you could end up in the state side the following year, and if you have a really good season in the state side, you could end up in the national side. So there's a very clear pyramid path.
There is. I rocked up for that winter, and David Hooks, who we both know well, fantastic cricketer, really top guy, sadly passed away. But Hooksy rang me, and he used to do this phone in and a chat like they all do now. Healy does it, Ian Smith does it in New Zealand. So I said, "Yeah, David, I'll come on," and he could not be nicer. Did him for about half an hour. He talked about English cricket, grade cricket, what he had been through. And the next weekend, we played against David Hooks. He came out, smashed about 80 in 40 deliveries, sledged me as much as I've ever been sledged by an Australian. I think I might have even bagged a pair because I got a good in first innings, and then it rained, and then you go out to bat again on a sticky dog or whatever. So the standard was incredibly high.
Well, when you say the standard was high, where would you pitch it? Not compared to club cricket in England, because it's obviously higher than club cricket. Is it somewhere between second 11 and first class cricket, or what would you say?
Yeah, I mean, sounding like a bit like in my day, but our first team first class cricket would involve all those overseas greats players. So we'd have Mark Waugh and Alan Border in our dressing room. You'd have Patrick Patterson, Wasim Akram, whoever. So it wasn't quite that standard, but somewhere in between. And often, a long history of England players coming over here. My lad went to watch a game in Perth during the Perth Test match, and he said James Bracey was playing for one of the sides. Your lad's here, isn't he? He's playing in Adelaide.
University. My lad is here.
How's he going this year?
Well, it's been quite a wet start to the summer, actually, unseasonably or unusually cool and wet. So they've had 2 weekends rained out. I think he's going okay. A bit like you said there, he said the standard is very good, but when all the state players are available, it's excellent. He played one game. They play over 2 weekends, and the first Saturday, I think they were playing Kensington. I can't remember which club, but one of them had like 6 state players, and they were all available. Jake Fraser McGurk played and got 140, and he said the standard was outstanding. And then it dropped off the next Saturday because they all had a state game and they all had to disappear. But there's quite a strong Middlesex link. Luke Holman is here. In fact, Sturt are playing Tea Tree Gully on Saturday, which is Travis Head's club, and Luke Holman plays for them, so Josh will be playing against him.
I read you about Alex Carey actually yesterday. You wrote about it, and it's grade cricket's a little bit like that. You're not given everything.
No.
You do have to work hard. You have to wait for an innings. You could go 3 weeks, but whereas in England, you talk about county cricket or second 11 cricket, there's always another innings round the corner.
Yeah.
So you don't get a bit blasé about it, but you're like, okay, I'll get runs tomorrow. Here, if you don't get them, you have to wait a long time. Every innings counts. So
I noticed Michael Vaughan's lad Archie came to Sydney. He's come to Sydney, Mossman, but I think the very first week he was here, put him in the second grade. It's that kind of,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little bit classic.
I think that's
Aussie,
just because
isn't it?
he's Vorney's lad, to be honest. That's
Probably.
fair enough.
But it is that you've got to earn your stripes here,
Yeah.
which is a pretty good fundamental to have, I think, at any level of cricket, because it is performance-based, and once you are judging on performance, you know, that's fairly simple metric, isn't it?
And as you can see, it beats being in England. You know, however you're going, you can do whatever you want.
Who were the other, can you remember other English cricketers that were here playing grade cricket at the same time or not?
No,
No.
I can't. So long ago, I can't remember, to be honest. I was so wrapped up
so
in my own game.
The Adelaide Oval, we're going there, one of the great grounds in Australia. It's been redeveloped. It was redeveloped about 10 years ago, so it's a multi-sport stadium now. They play AFL in the winter, so it's a drop-in pitch, which it never used to be a natural soil pitch. But it's still very much got a cricket ground feel about it, whereas the Optus, which we've been to, and the Gabba, which are basically just concrete bowls, this one you can still tell the ground as it was. They still have the old scoreboard there, which I think is a listed building now, and the hill and the Moreton Bay Figs just behind it. So although they've done it up, they haven't lost that feel of a cricket ground.
No, I went across there day before yesterday. My wife's here with me, and we went across. She'd never seen the ground, and we remember it before then. If you remember, we had that Youth World Cup semi-final here where we lost to Australia, despite my remarkable runs to try and keep us in the game. But so it has changed so much since then. And since we played here, and you're always worried, because this was, you do Q&As and you do various things, and they ask you what's your favourite ground. Most cricketers around the world would say Adelaide, for just the feel of a cricket ground. It feels like a stadium, but it feels like an old-fashioned cricket ground, and you were sort of worried whether they would do it up and it would just be another bowl, but it's not. It's just lovely, and I've seen some of the day-night games here. They just do it lovely, and just the infrastructure, that bridge straight across town into the middle of it, and they're so welcoming. I went in, it may not happen at Lord's or the Oval, I went in and said, can we have a look around? And the lady just went, yeah.
So they let
come.
you in, they didn't let you in at the
so again, for services to Australian cricket over the years.
Well, I was chatting to the CEO of this vineyard just before we started and asking him about day-night cricket here, because traditionally this has been the venue for day-night cricket. Obviously the Gabba had it this year, and we've got a day game this year. And he surprised me. He said that they're very disappointed not to have the day-night test. That I would have assumed that the kind of restaurateurs would have preferred a day game, because then after the day's play, you know, people pile into town. But he said what they found was that in a day-night game, they had almost a double whammy at either end. People were having lunch before, game finished at 9:30, and then they're still piling into the bars.
The Barmy Army will
afterwards.
Always find a bar, whatever time. Have you changed your mind on that? Did the Gabba change your? You're quite stubborn from what I've known over the years. Has in anything have changed your mind having watched that Gabba day-nighter?
Listen, it's not my personal preference, but I recognise the game is much bigger than that. It is part of the calendar here now, and I recognise that. I do think, and I'm not going to change my mind on this, that the 150th anniversary test, which is in 2027, to obviously celebrate the 150th anniversary of the first England-Australia test, I do think that should be a day game. That reflects the whole history, 150 years of Ashes cricket, and 99.9% of that has been played in the daytime. And I think, I don't know what Melbourne's like in March either. It might be a bit fresh, but anyway, no, I'm not changing my mind on that. But I recognise that day-night cricket is part of the deal here.
And Adelaide memories for you, good or bad?
Well, mixed. Inevitably. I remember that World Cup, under-19 World Cup game, and I was thinking about that a little bit, about the strength of Australian cricket, because they smashed us in that semi-final, which you'll remember.
Some of us.
And I think we had, from that under-19 team, about 7 or 8 players that went on to play Test cricket. And I think there were 2 from Australia. And one of them played for us.
Alan Mullally. Stuart Law as well.
Stuart Law and Alan Mullally was the other one, and he played for us. So I was thinking, you know, they were much better than us at 19. And yet, so many of their players didn't go on to have even first-class careers, never mind international careers. So with 6 states, it is very hard to get into, and I think that's part of the strength of cricket here in Australia. Anyway, Adelaide memories. 1990-91 was my first test here. It was Mark Waugh's debut. He came. Steve Waugh got dropped. Mark Waugh came in, got 100. And the thing I remember most about that was David Gower getting out. He got out, I think, what became the last ball before tea, caught at fine leg. They'd set about 3 men out on the leg side, and Murph Hughes was just bowling down his backside, and Gucci was at the non-strikers end. You have to remember this was about a week after the Tiger Moth thing. And anyway, the last ball before tea, Murph sent one down the leg side, and Lubo just flicked it straight to fine leg, and Gucci's face was like thunder. And the dress.
Did he get an infection, Gucci, just after?
Missed,
I remember
he missed the start of the tour.
Right,
he didn't play in the first game at the Gabba.
Yeah.
In those days, it went Brisbane, Melbourne was the second, Sydney the third. So Adelaide was the fourth test before you went to Perth. So Gucci had recovered by then. So that was 1990. 94-5 we won. We had a kind of unbelievable against the head win here. We only had 11 fit players at the start. We only played 5 batters because those were the only ones who were fit. And then Devon and Louis bowled us to victory on the final day. Tuffers took the most unbelievable catch somewhere down at fine leg, a Michael Slater hook, right in front of the hill where all the Barmy Army were. And this was the tour where they'd unveiled a massive banner, the Phil Tufnell Fielding Academy, because he'd been so appalling in the field and had been 4 years before.
Was it lend us your brain, we're building an idiot?
That's that tour. Anyway, he took a great catch. We won that game. 98, you played in that game. It was about 46 degrees on the first day. Justin Langer got 100. And the thing I remember about that day was Darren Gough. The last hour of the day, he came steaming in. He bowled for about an hour. Everybody was on their knees. You couldn't, you open your mouth and you felt like your throat was going to catch fire. It was so hot. But that was an incredible performance from him. And then you captained here in 023.
Yeah, badly. But I remember Michael Vaughan's innings.
Big 100.
He came out here, and while everyone else was struggling, he just played so beautifully. The rhythm, pulling a little bit like the Aussies do, actually. Sort of.
Well, he got out pulling, didn't he? Because there wasn't that
he had
unbelievable catch by Glenn McGrath on the just in front of the gate.
And they were comparing it last game, the Labuschagne catch with the McGrath. I think McGrath just wins it.
Got lucky. He didn't get lucky, didn't he? He kind of went. I don't know.
Lucky that McGrath caught it. Basically, I think Ricky has said that for a number of years. So, but Vaughan played beautifully. We got like 340, 334 or something first innings. And it was classic. You think in England that's all right, isn't it? It's not Adelaide or the old Adelaide. They got 500 and McGrath bowled us out second time round. Came back here for 06, that famous game.
07, we're talking about not enough. England declared on first innings for 500 and odd.
Flintoff
and
captain.
got beat.
Yeah.
Shane Warne, unbelievable performance on the last day as England dug a deep hole. We can skirt through the rest.
I remember 2010 because Peterson got a magnificent double 100.
Yeah.
And there was 2 things important about that. One was I was watching every boundary because there's only one good record I hold against Australia. It's
number of
boundaries by an Englishman against Australia.
And he was getting close.
He was getting close. I cheered when he got out for 220. But he scored so quickly that it meant there was a massive storm about 10 minutes after the end of play. Massive storm. And because England had scored so quickly, they bought him enough time to bowl Australia out
I remember
twice.
that storm because they put sheets on the square, and I was there quite late because I was writing probably, and then after about an hour, Collie appeared and did a big kind of dive on the sheet.
I think Beefy and Giuppelli may have just had a few words as well.
They might have had a row in that game. And then 13-14 got beat, obviously, and then 2 day-night games, which didn't go that well either. So England have gone to Noosa. Have you been to Noosa?
Yeah, a very long time ago. It's lovely.
Well, yeah.
I wasn't on an England tour, but it was like a holiday. But I wasn't.
So there's been predictably a bit of flack flying around that the local media have sent people there, and I mean it's inevitable. If you're 2-0 down, you're going to get stick. But what are people? What are they supposed to do? Sit in a darkened room and eat bread and water? It seems to me that they've actually been. I saw Ben Stokes. He posed for some photographs, didn't he? And I thought, good on you. Actually, that you've got to be able to laugh at yourself. And they've gone for some R&R, and then they're going to be switched on again come Sunday.
All said that the major problem in the 2 games has been about their thinking. hasn't it? The understanding situations, times, when to defend, when to attack. And so it's that top bit of your body, the brain, that's what's let them down. So I think it is right to clear the brain, not come to the next venue, sit there, train every single day, and that mental scarring and baggage stays with you. They have to clear the brain. The only thing I'd say is that in isolation, each of their decisions look decent. Like before the first test, they were in New Zealand playing white ball cricket. They liked their own little in-house game, which they had against, they've done it before, and that's been successful. So then the second one, before that, they could have gone and played a 2-day at Canberra, but we all agreed, well, that's not the conditions you're going to get at the Gabba. Then this one, go and clear your brain, because you've got 3, now the next 3 games come, bang, bang, bang. So get ready for back-to-back-to-back games. So in isolation, each of those decisions look, okay, there's understanding to it, but to turn up to the third game with only one in-house game and not playing A state at all, or an Australia A side or something.
The great mistake was prior to the first test. I think 3 days or 4 days at Lilac Hill against the Lions is inadequate for what's coming, but the Canberra decision and the Noosa decision, absolutely fine mid-series.
And the McCullum quote, we over-prepared, if anything?
Yeah, I mean, it will wind England fans up, because what they will see is a team that's not playing a lot and not necessarily practicing that much. I think what he meant by that was that they arranged, because of that test finishing early and the fact that they didn't go to Canberra, what was they had 3 days practice became 5 because they booked extra nets. And his point is 5 days netting, which is the point you've just made, can kind of actually dull your sharpness a bit. You get over netted. So I knew what he was trying to say, but it was a kind of little bit tone deaf, wasn't it, and would have wound England supporters up. But I think you use your nets wisely to be sharp. But again, that was his call to book the extra decisions, and I think he probably feels, well, we were listening too much to the criticism, public criticism, and we'll book extra sessions. But
I've always said in the modern day, whether you do have to have one rule that fits everyone, really. And I know it can be quite difficult to sort out, go and get people playing somewhere else, get them some, because there must be someone that wants a hit in the middle.
But we said about Canberra, didn't we? I said that, if Zach Crawley had come out on the back of that pair, and if I was in charge, he'd have come and said, I really want to go and have a hit in Canberra. You allow that. It
reminds me, actually, when you kept leaving me out in the Caribbean, in the West Indies, Bumble or who would that have been? Fletch, maybe? Who was coach?
It would have been Fletch, yeah.
Keith Fletcher, who I know at Essex, keeps leaving me out. He said, go off and play, we've sorted you out a game. And it was like the police. I was playing for Barbados Police. I rocked
Great
up.
club, Gary Sobers' club.
It was, yeah. They batted me at 8. I went in at 150 for 6 or so.
I've seen you play.
Supposed to be batting 3 in the test side. They've gone and batted me at 8. Cheers,
Did you
mate.
get
Thanks
any?
a lot. No.
The other post-match comments that we didn't touch on were Ben Stokes, and he talked about, it was really the first time, he said, Australia's no place for weak men, there's no place for that in my dressing room either. It was the first time really where you felt he was unbelievably frustrated about the performance of his players. He's always been incredibly loyal. He's very rarely said anything that even has a kind of element of negativity, but you sensed he was deeply frustrated by the performance there.
He was. I've written about it this week, and it reminded me of I did that leadership documentary with Jurgen Klopp, and that quote from Klopp about how he manages and his relationship with his players, that he's their friend, but he's not their best friend. And what he means by that is, I'll be there for you for as long as you can. I'll always be there for you until I feel you're letting me down, and then I ain't your friend anymore. And that's what I got from Stokes' press conference at the end. Now, I've looked after you, I've backed you, I've even pushed you in this direction, let's be honest. He's even asked him to play. He went out and played like that. If you remember Butch had him at the presentation, had a little do, why are you batting like this? So he's taken him in this direction to play like this, and now they're not assessing situations and not handling pressure like he handles pressure and assesses conditions and situations perfectly. Some of them aren't.
Problem though is, if you're saying, you get into a stage where they're not performing and you're not my friend anymore, I'm going to leave you out, the backup options are thin, aren't they? Let's be honest, they're pretty thin.
They are. I mean, it would have to be either rejigging, which neither of us really like with Jacks or something, or Bethel coming in on the back of a few runs. And also
a guy who's 21 and never scored a first-class 100.
Yeah. And also in the bowling, obviously now Mark Wood, something we haven't touched on since that last game. Mark Wood, unfortunately, he's going back home. So we've got back-to-back test matches in this heat.
I mean, you know, who knows whether it's the end of the road as an international player for him. He said he's going to try and rehabilitate and get back, but he's 36 in January, and the Ashes often starts a new cycle, doesn't it? They often move on from players at the end of an Ashes. So it seems unlikely to me, but who knows? We wish him well, obviously. But he's been a terrific cricketer over the years.
Yeah, and you feel for him because he's been around nearly 11 years now. He's played 38 tests in
matches.
10 years. And that is just fast bowling taking its toll.
But it's fast bowling for him, isn't it?
Yeah. And the way he bowls and the way he hurls it, and I know he's changed his run-up and having spoken to Michael Holding and all that, but he still keeps getting injured, and it's just proof that Josh Hazlewood's out of the series as well. Fast bowling is hard work. Your body's not meant to bowl like Mark Wood, but in a time when the captain is asking for some mental strength and resilience, Mark Wood has that in abundance. His body keeps letting him down, not his mind, his body. And when they did go 2-0 down in the last Ashes series at home, who was there to help him at Headingley with bat and ball, bowled a lightning spell to get Khawaja out, stumps everywhere. He turned it around with Wokes, who also is obviously retired now, but you know, they will miss that energy of Mark Wood. And you have to feel for the individual, because rehab, you've probably gone through it with your back, actually.
It's a pretty
I've
lonely,
not been through
dark
it, I can imagine.
place,
yeah.
And he's done it more than most, so we wish him well. Who have been the fastest bowlers that you've seen? Well, I mean, none of us saw Larwood. You can see him on black and white. He was obviously sharp by the look of it. They all talk about Tyson in 54.5, who might be the nearest equivalent to Mark Wood because he kind of burst in off a short run and was skiddy, and he was very fast for a very short period of time. But England haven't been blessed with millions of genuinely fast bowlers over the years, have they?
No, going back to your original, who have I seen? I'd say Brett Lee bowled a spell down Doctor at Perth on a flat pitch.
Yeah.
The time that I think he hit Alex Tudor.
He hit him in the eye.
Yeah, that was rapid. Shoaib.
That was when you kicked those crutches in the dressing room.
Oh no, got the worst decision ever. Caught behind off Shane. I hit the ground, and Rudy Kurtzen with that silly. Like, just, if you're going to give me out quickly. Like, I've not hit it, mate. And then there was like crutches of 9 different England players that were injured on that trip, and they all went everywhere. So Shoaib used to bowl a very rapid.
I think he's the quickest I've seen.
Rapid delivery. So,
but of England cricketers, I mean, if 90 mile an hour plus is genuinely fast, you'd have Harmison there, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Simon Jones.
He'd be touching 90, but. Yeah, I don't know about as consistently as Mark Wood has been lately. Stephen Finn, Freddie would be 90, and Jofra obviously.
A lot about it in the wrist, you know. You watch Jofra and you watch Freddie and stuff. There's that flick of the wrist. I never realised, I've never bowled fast in my life, but you do get a lot of zip and snap from that. Whereas just going back to you're discussing fast bowling. But is it about fast bowling? Have England got it slightly wrong? For years they've planned for this trip, and they see Alex Carey standing up to Scott Boland and Michael Noosa. And
I mean, I'm sure you've seen that thing doing the rounds on Twitter. You know, it's a cruel place, isn't it, Twitter? But they took that a conversation Rob Key had with us on the Sky Cricket podcast, where he says, you know, Nas, we've worked out that you can't bowl, 75 miles an hour with a keeper up in Test cricket. And then they showed bang, bang, Carey stood up and Noosa getting all these wickets.
So if it's the old Adelaide pitch, you may need a bit of extra pace.
Adelaide is going to be different. Well, assuming it's the Adelaide that we know, and it has been the Adelaide pitch that has been in the last 10 years, it is not going to have the pace and bounce or the Gabba or Perth. You've got those short square boundaries. The one thing I hope is that England just don't go into their shell. I just don't. I mean, obviously they've got to assess conditions and they've got to be pragmatic, and there's moments when you have to suck it up and you have to earn the right to be aggressive. All those cliches that we come out with all the time. But the DNA of this team is to be aggressive. And they cannot blink now.
Yeah.
They can't blink now.
No,
They've got to still try and take the game to Australia. Otherwise, what is this team about?
Well, it can be conditions dependent. That when they've done that in Pakistan and got 500 a day, it's been a road. When they've done it in England at Edgbaston, Lords, wherever, when it's been flat, bang, they've gone like that. So this could be, you're right, this could be an opportunity of old school. I wouldn't do what Stokes sometimes does. We'll have a bowl and chase, because it can turn.
Yeah.
It can turn here, and they will play Nathan Lyon. Pat Cummins back for them as well. They look a stronger side, so it's going to be even more difficult.
Yeah, I mean, they've
England.
a bit of news, isn't there? That Hazlewood is out of the series, so that's a good thing for England, because obviously he's top class, but not unexpected. Cummins back, very close to playing at the Gabba, back now. They say he's absolutely raring to go. It'd be hard to see him playing 3 now, though, wouldn't it, on the bounce, having not played since July, coming back, depending on how deep these games go. But bang, 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 he might have to miss one of those 3. Lyon's bound to come back. He described himself as unbelievably filthy after being left out, which is a classic Aussie term, but he's going to come back for Adelaide. So they don't look weaker, for sure. So England have to be on their game.
Yeah, and England, you said you wanted time to think about the Bethel thing, and you still got plenty more time. They're still on their lounges in Noosa at the moment. But one thing worries me is if you go Bethel and Jacks, they are 2 part-time spinners on a pitch that can, on day 4, day 5.
Yeah.
Warney bowled them out on that last day. It was spinning squares. So against a frontline spinner of Lyon, or do you need to play a frontline spinner in Adelaide?
Well,
this is your job.
Generally, yes, but the only thing I would say is that from what I've seen, Jacks was bowling as well as Bashir. Now, whether you just discount, Nets and Lilac Hill and all that, and say, well, he's been our premier spinner and therefore we're going to back him. But you remember, he busted his finger at the end of that India series. He hadn't played until they got to Lilac Hill, and then he got some tap, and from what I saw, Jacks bowled just as nicely. I thought he was under-bowled a bit, actually, at the Gabba, Will Jacks. Anyway, if I was a betting man, I suspect they might just bring in... they might not. They'll keep Pope at 3, I suspect. Right. Anyway, we'll find. That's a long way, and we've got plenty of time to discuss that, because we're getting Greg Blewett on the podcast on Monday, and he can tell us a bit about conditions.
Don't mention the catch, by the way. Old Trafford.
That's the first thing I'm going to bring
hand,
up. When you cheated him out.
I'm not sure cheating might be just pushing it. It just may have hit one bit of grass as I caught it.
It would have been sent upstairs today, and he probably still... But didn't he get... Am I right in thinking his first 3 Ashes tests he got 300s or something? He definitely got 100 on debut here. Yeah. Anyway, very good player. That's Monday. You'll have sunk about 300 bottles of Chardonnay between now and then.
The Lane Chardonnay, we'll just throw that in.
And we'll look forward to seeing Greg Blewett then, and enjoy the rest of Adelaide Hills. Talking of which, we've got the CEO of the Lane Vineyard here, Jared, to come and have a chat with us and tell us a bit more about it. Jared Stringer, CEO of the Lane Vineyard. Welcome to the Sky Cricket Podcast. Thanks for hosting us, first of all. We're in the Adelaide Hills area. Before we talk about your vineyard in particular, just tell us a little bit about the area.
Yeah, so Adelaide Hills, one of the closest wine regions to any capital city in the world, actually. Our wine region only starts just at the bottom of the freeway that takes you up from the CBD. So its proximity to Adelaide is quite exceptional. But the beautiful thing about the Adelaide Hills is the changing climate and the beautiful topography we have. So coming out of the city of Adelaide, you climb a very steep hill.
Yeah, about 1,000
so it's about nearly 700 metres above sea level, So you basically getting up and over that hill then puts you in a totally different climate. The cooling sort of ocean breezes we get from Gulf St Vincent come over those hills and get chilled, which puts us in a almost 10 degrees less sort of climate.
And in the winter, how chilly does it get?
We're below zero regularly,
right,
so we do get a cold winter, which always surprises people from the UK. They always seem to think, we don't get that cold, but certainly we'll see below zero through winter and heavy rainfall. We're a very fertile region, so sort of close to 1,000 millimetres a year in rainfall up here, and then lots of spring frosts.
The Sir Ian Botham Adelaide Hills Chardonnay, Beefy and our late great friend Bob Willis had a very close relationship with Geoffrey Merrill, who makes wine not far from here. But you said you've produced one of Beefy's Chardonnays. Tell us a bit about the link.
Yeah, so we were approached many years ago through a mutual connection in the UK through our distributor over there with Corney and Barrow, and Surian came up to the Lane and on one of his trips over here, and he was, as you say, making some wines with Jeff already. But he wanted to introduce some whites into his portfolio. So, and again, the Adelaide Hills being a phenomenal region to grow Chardonnay. It was sort of worked out over a long lunch. And
does he know his wine?
He does. He's very.
Or is he a bluffer?
No. He does. I'll give him that. He does know his wines, and well, certainly he's picked the Lane to make his Chardonnay, so he must know his
absolutely.
wines. He's quite good value, Beefy. So and I had a lunch with him a few years ago when he was over here for an Ashes series, we're talking to produce another one.
Well, thank you. Fantastic. Nas has already made his way up to the restaurant for lunch. Loves his Chardonnay, Nas, so he might get stuck into one of these.